Night shift workers, what's the creepiest or most paranormal experience you ever had? I worked at a living facility for people with developmental disabilities. It's been there over 50 years, so there is history in every building. A few times at night in one cottage, I encountered a presence. Not a bad one, in fact it had a friendly feel, almost like a client trying to be helpful. Always in one particular room. One night before I put a certain resident in bed, I decided to change her sheets. She was wheelchair-bound, incapable of intentionally doing much of anything with her body. She had been evaluated by doctors of having the awareness and development of a 3-month-old infant. So, yes, she moved her head, arms and legs, but not with any real intent or purpose. Anyway, she was across the room, seatbelted into her chair. So, like I said, I decided to put fresh sheets on the bed. They weren't terribly dirty, but if they had been on my bed, I would have changed them. So, as I'm chatting away at her, I tell her what I'm doing and why, etc. She didn't understand me as far as I knew, but I always talked and sang and stuff around the residents. I didn't bring linen, so I say something along the lines of, I gotta go get you some clean sheets for your bed, and I grab up the dirty ones and leave the room. The linen closet is about 15 or 20 feet from her door, so I step straight over to it and straight back. In the short time I was gone, the bed was somehow made completely with new sheets, cover, pillows, etc. How helpful, but weird. I was tired at the time, so I just assumed in the 30 seconds I was gone a coworker had made the bed and left. Impossible, I know, but like I said, I was tired. A few weeks later, the young lady who sleeps in the bed, Julia, has a feeding tube that goes directly into her abdomen. Most people with similar tubes have their feeding pumps put on metal poles at night, similar to 4-poles. During the day, the pumps are put on their chairs. We couldn't do that with Julia. Her arms and legs moved and flailed about constantly, and she would yank the pole over on her head. We kept her pump on her wheelchair and just put her wheelchair right up to the bed. It was a big heavy wheelchair specifically designed for her needs. On the floor along the side of her bed was a big thick mat like people use in gymnastics class, in case she managed to wiggle out of bed. The wheelchair always sat on top of the mat beside her bed. The picture I'm trying to portray is the chair, even without the brakes on, sits there in that exact spot every night. It doesn't move and in fact is hard to move. One night, I was trying to wrangle her into a fresh nightgown and she was really making it tough on us. I unhooked her feeding tube so at least one thing was out of the way. I looped it over the back of the chair, but couldn't even think about moving the chair out of my way because this lady was flip-flopping arms and legs everywhere and I was afraid she'd fall out of bed. I had just finished muttering something unkind about the chair being in the way, and a few seconds later, it rolled slowly but surely off the mat and across the floor. Kinda freaked me out, but this was the second time something had helped me in that room. My mother raised me with good manners, so I made sure to say thank you that time. It was one of those moments where you know something's off, like something that's not supposed to happen, happens. Goosebumps ran all over my body. Same room a few weeks later. We were short-staffed one night and had to pull staff from another building to fill in. The lady that came had been working for the facility for years but had not been on our station for a while. So, I am walking her through talking about who has which residents to take care of for the night. As we walk past that particular room, she is closest to the open door walking beside me. All of a sudden, the door slams shut with the speed of a bullet. "Oh my God," she hollered. "What was that? Who was that? What did that?" She is just a steady stream of scared, confused comments. I calmed her down by explaining it must have been an open window somewhere that caused a draft and shut the door. I had no idea what happened. In fact, my helper clearly didn't want her there. I decided to go with my helper's wishes. Instead of any other staff being left alone with Julia in that room, we would work as partners so I could keep an eye out. None of the residents in that building were verbal, so they couldn't say anything if staff mistreated them. Since then, there have been occasional unexplainable events in and around the room, almost all helping me out. I'm not even creeped out anymore.